seeing is believing. First trip up there, three of us in a boat caught over 240, and I'd say average pretty close to 10 pounds. So do the math. We caught a ton of catfish that day, or a little bit over. And you will literally sink the boat if you try to keep all the fish on most days. I think the worst I've done is 80. Went out with Mark Beach and we caught 80 that day. So we're still pushing 1,000 pounds. Unbelievable. But Mike's been doing it since 1971, and you know, the techniques that he does is probably as good as they get.
And then in the 90s, I did something that nobody had thought about doing. I switched from night crawlers to shrimp. And that was the biggest change. Most people, when they think about fishing with shrimp, they're talking about buying the pre-packaged little tiny shrimp or cooked shrimp. We started buying the fresh, raw shrimp. Preferred to have the shell on, didn't really matter. And we just started finding out that not only could we catch the catfish easily as quick with shrimp, but it kept your boat and everything a whole lot cleaner. On any given day, we can go out there and we have the potential of catching easily some 12 and 15 pound channel cats, which are great size channel cats.
Oh man. Yeah.
But then in the spring times and then later in the fall, you wind up catching, you know, the largest channel cat that I personally have ever caught has been a 26 pound.
26 pound channel. That's
huge. And I've taken other guys up there and they've all caught almost everyone that I've ever taken up there. If we fish more than a couple times, if the fish are really biting, somebody's caught a 20 pounder.
We had two boats on the water one time, and there were 7 fishermen, and we had 14 fish hooked up at the same time. And you're talking catfish averaging 10 pounds, so you got your hands full. But in saying that, trying to catch those numbers, that's the fun of it. Is there some techniques that Mike caught on to, and then Mark Beach has even thrown a couple ideas in there that's working out really well. One of them is Mark's got a rubber net that's kind of got like small holes in it, is the best way I can describe it. And man, you just pick them catfish right up out of that net. They're not tangled up in it, and you know, before you know it, your line's back in the water.
Hooks that we're using anywhere from a 4/0 maybe to a 6/0. I've learned on catfish especially, take a pair of pliers, smash the barb down, because even with these hooks, there are times the catfish will swallow it so deep that you don't want to kill them, you just cut it off. But getting the barb out of the way makes a ton of difference. And as long as you fish correctly and you keep pressure on your line, you've got no issue.
And you actually end up catching more fish at the end of the day because you're not fighting that barb out of that catfish. Surprisingly, that hook's still hard to get out of that fish without no barb.
Absolutely.
And you would literally, between the net and the barb, you save a ton of time on every fish. And I mean, when you're getting bit every 2 or 3 minutes, it makes a big difference in the day. You know, did you catch 100 fish or did you catch 150? I mean, there's so many catfish up there. Anything that you want to try. Now, he said the liver didn't work so well, but Mark also likes like bluegill heads or cut bait up there. And I think there's just so many fish in there. If you're comfortable using a bait, it'll probably catch fish up there.
1 to 3 feet deep. People can't even imagine that, but that's what we're doing. I do know where the rock ridges are in almost all of those areas. Then you go, once the water starts heating up in the spring, and then back through June, July, and August, you slip from maybe 1 to 3 feet, slide out a little bit to 4 to 5 feet, or you find the channels a little bit. Some people will fish the bridges. The bridges are anywhere from 15 to 21, 22 foot depth if you know where to look. The issue up at the bridges has always been boat traffic and ski-doo traffic. Unfortunately, there are a lot of, I call them unethical players out there on the boats with fishermen. That can be an issue sometimes, but the ski-doos, they can, especially up around the bridges area and stuff and the traffic areas, they can be a real problem for your enjoyment.
And in Ohio, any of our public lakes like that are like that, unless they're, unless it's like it's a 9 or 10 horsepower limit lake. You just, I guess, learn to deal with that, or go up and fish at night. That's, no wake zone at night. All the fishing that we do is during the day. I don't know how you could catch any more than what we do. I couldn't imagine night being any better, other than getting away from traffic. But man, if you're a catfish enthusiast or just want to go catch some big fish, you can't beat it. And Mike gets a chuckle out of someone if they bring a good pull, but not a heavy pull, rod and reel, because he'll tell you how many over the years that he has seen broke, snap, gear stripped, whatever. And part of that is man, you got to have some backbone. You got to be able to handle that fish. You got to keep him out of the anchor. You got to keep him out of other lines. You got to bring him to the net. So if you got some backbone, you know that you can control that fish. It goes a long ways.
So the way I fish, on the bottom, I've always done it this way. Sinker first, hook up above. I know there are a lot of people that like to do the slide sinker. Put your line through the sinker, put your bead, tie your line and hook on it, and let the fish pull through it. A lot of people love that rig, and that's a great setup to use for monofilament. Not a good setup to use for braided line, because the sliding action of your braided line through your sinker winds up rubbing your braid till it gets to the point where it'll break. But for monofilament, you can't beat it. So those are just very simple setups. And in the water that we fish, we didn't do it the other day, but in the water that we fish, when you're only in 2 to 4 foot of water, if the wind conditions are right, there's nothing that can beat putting a slide bobber on, throwing it out, and watching that bobber just bounce and just disappear. I mean, it makes for a whole lot of fun.
I tell you what, I guess what we're getting at, you can really catch catfish up there on your favorite setup. You don't have to think outside the box. I do, like he said, I got monofilament here, so I do a slip sinker, I do a bead, do a swivel, and then I do about a probably 16-inch, maybe 20-inch leader to that hook. If you want bobber fish, braid, mono, whatever, you're going to go up there and have a good time and catch fish. Without a doubt, I cannot imagine any other place in the world where you could catch as many or the quality of fish that you do up there on Channel Cat. It's got to be the world's best.
Yeah.
I mean, you just physically can't catch them any quicker on a good day. And I mean, you're averaging 10 pounds. I mean, and then you could get on a run where everything's over 10 pounds.
As long as the water stays somewhat cool, you're looking at end of April into July, and then your numbers will stay about the same size. Average size will go down some until you hit end of August going into September. What people don't realize, you have a winter feeding frenzy. The fish start to feed up for the winter, and August and September can be some great months for fish that good 8, 10, 11 pound fish, and then you'll get the occasional bigger fish. So it's a great fishery. It's a great place to go. We always have. I've always been one to help people out a little bit, so
Hey,
no issue.
This is what this is about. I've shot archery and hunted pretty much my whole life. Since 1978, I've shot competitive archery, and I've been around guys like Mike and then like Mark Ayers from our turkeys, and we're approaching 30, 40, 50 years of experience of what we're doing, and we're just trying to help pass it on so someone else can get out there and enjoy the outdoors like we have.
Absolutely.
There's one last tip. You're fishing the bay off of Lake Erie, so wind could be a problem up there on any given day. You don't get afraid and not go, but you basically need a good anchor system. And I shot a little video, and I'll include it onto this here of his anchor setup. And when him and his brother kind of chuckled and put me up front, I figured out why pretty quick. But you'll see that in the video. So between the net, smashing the barb down, the right anchor setup, heavy equipment, so it just doesn't wear out or break, or it doesn't whip you, before the day's over, are kind of key. The shrimp, nice and clean, easy to pick up. Take up a couple of bags per fisherman.
50
size.
to 60 is the perfect size. If you get anything smaller than that, because the bags are based on the size of the shrimp, anything usually lasts 30 to 40, 20 to 30. Those shrimp are too big to put on a hook, and which means now you're cutting, which still works. It'll still work for fishing purposes. 50 to 60 or 40 to 60, ideal size to use.
Yeah, might as well make it simple. If you're going to buy it for this, just go ahead and buy that size, and give or take the 5/0 hook that we use. When it threads on there, it just covers the hook up nicely, and easy peasy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And before we shut this down, I want to throw out something here to, first of all, my dad and my brother. We've had great adventures. We personally lost our best friend a year and a half ago. So here's to Charlie. Wish he was here.
Well, when you got on the lake, you got them memories.
Yep.
That's what it's about. So, but hey, give it a try. It's world-class fishing. I don't know where you could, freshwater fish, pound-wise at the end of the day, I don't know where else you could go and catch a ton of fish. Literally
Anywhere.
catch a ton of fish.
Sure.
On a good day, on a bad day, you're still pushing 1,000 pounds. And I don't know how you call that a bad day.